Right now on KGW News, a driver pulled from the floodwaters. The scene playing out tonight in the path of Hurricane Francine. Plus,
it can't be something that we can continue to ignore.
should Oregon spend more than $600 million on a new prison? From oppressive heat to one working elevator, why some argue a replacement is long overdue. Then,
hearing this sound is every time so heartbreaking.
trees tumble to make way for homes as neighbors say this patch of green could have been saved. But first,
my suffering has something to offer to the others.
as a survivor of the Hamas terror attacks inside Israel shares her story of resilience. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm David Volko. That survivor addressed a Portland congregation tonight reliving the terror of October 7th, an attack that triggered what's now been a nearly year-long war in Gaza. Catherine Cook is just back from Congregation Neve Shalom in Southwest Portland with that story. Catherine.
David, after the attack, Ofri Reiner says she struggled with the question of why she survived. Over the last year, she says she's found her answer while inspiring others to find their strength amid trauma.
At Congregation Neve Shalom, a story of survival drew people in. A story that began October 7th in the Israeli desert near Gaza.
It took us a few seconds to understand, and they started shooting all over the lanes that was next to them.
22-year-old Ofri Etta Reiner was at the Supernova Music Festival when Hamas attacked. She survived, but 1,200 others were murdered. Hundreds more were taken hostage. And that same day, Reiner's brother was killed in combat.
Since October 7th, I feel like I'm on my journey to infuse my life with meaning.
She's finding part of that meaning away from her home in Israel. Her stop in Portland is part of a national tour, speaking to groups about her survival and what it means to rise out of suffering.
I feel like my lecture is relevant for everyone who is coping with anything in life, because trauma, I'm not the first one and not the last one that will deal with trauma. And to understanding the meaning of post-traumatic growth and the fact that we can flourish out of anything is something that all of us should be familiar of.
We all have agency. We all have the ability to just live as fully as possible if we choose it, and she's done just that.
Rabbi David Kosak is grateful for Reiner's visit. He was injured in a terror attack while a student at Hebrew University. He hopes those who hear Reiner's story will find a way to grow from it.
Use it as a source of healing, resilience, hope, optimism, right? When trauma comes our way, we can allow ourselves to be swallowed up by it, or we can actually use it as a growing opportunity.
The empty chairs draped in prayer shawls represent hostages still held by Hamas. Reiner says she prays for their safe return and for peace as she shares her story.
And it's hard and draining, but fulfilling in the same time.
The initial attack by Hamas killed 1,200 people in Israel, with 100 more still considered hostages. In the year that's followed, the health ministry in Gaza, which is controlled by Hamas, says more than 40,000 Palestinians have been killed by Israeli forces. David.
Yeah, a message of healing and hope, and hopefully eventually peace. Thank you, Catherine. To get you caught up on tonight's other headlines now, a suspect accused in what police say was a drug-fueled crime spree in Albany appeared in court today. Their name, Lucy Diethylamide, which it turns out is also the formal drug name for LSD. The 23-year-old is accused of attacking an employee at a Love's travel stop Tuesday morning, then stealing a Jeep and leading police on a chase. In court today, the owner of that car told the judge this all came less than 24 hours after his father passed away.
I lost one loved one, and I could have lost another, or my loved ones could have lost me over a car.
The suspect was eventually stopped by police and appeared to overdose. Officers say they gave them Narcan before taking them into custody. A Portland restaurant says it is in desperate need of help from the city following multiple break-ins. The owner of Dick's Primal Burger on Southeast Woodstock says his business has been broken into 8 times over the past 2 years, most recently this past Friday. Most of the incidents, he says, have involved people smashing glass doors or windows, which of course means costly repairs. In past break-ins, thieves stole 2 laptops and a safe. And more than 30,000 aerospace machinists at Boeing are just hours away from a vote that could lead them to strike as soon as Friday. Union leaders in Boeing had a tentative agreement on the weekend, but a union member told the Seattle Times members were upset with the deal. One of the biggest issues is pay. Boeing is offering a wage increase of 25% over 4 years, but union members say it does not include their current yearly bonus. If the strike is authorized and stretches on, delivery of Boeing parts out of Washington state would stop, impacting the aviation industry as a whole. Well, we are following up tonight on a shooting in the Lloyd district that left one man dead. This was Tuesday evening around 5:30 off Northeast 6th, and police say the victim was shot and killed right on the sidewalk. The suspect took off before officers arrived. Those who live nearby say they are especially concerned by the timing.
That's the crazy thing, because usually it happens on the weekend and at nighttime. And during the daytime, that tells me that we're in a different kind of zone right now. We're in a whole new world.
It's the drugs and it's everything. Everybody's broke. People are dying over nothing.
Now, we don't know the circumstances of this exact homicide. According to police data, though, there have been 51 homicides in Portland so far in 2024. 41 of those were shootings. While developing tonight, an incredible rescue as Hurricane Francine hits Louisiana, one that was broadcast live on television when a reporter in New Orleans spotted a truck. You see it there going underwater and flagged down a nearby police officer. That is when a witness who happened to be an ER nurse jumped in, putting themselves in harm's way, managing to break the truck window and to get that driver to safety. While Francine is now weakened to a tropical storm, its impacts are being felt heavily along the Gulf Coast. NBC's Jake Ray is in New Orleans tonight.
Good evening. New Orleans is beginning to feel some of the stronger effects of Francine, the storm that made landfall as a Category 2 hurricane and now pushing inland, bringing with it strong winds, gusts over 100 miles an hour, and a driving rain. Some areas have already seen 7 inches of rain, and that's going to increase as this storm moves through. Of course, very low-lying area in New Orleans, most of the city below sea level, and so that water really has nowhere to go. It will continue to build, and flash flooding again is going to be a very serious problem here. Evacuation orders remain in effect, obviously, along the coastline. Shelters are open, not only here in Orleans Parish, but across several parishes in the state. We know that electrical and power crews are waiting, as well as recovery teams just outside the strike zone. And as soon as this storm clears, they will move in. The storm had picked up some momentum, shifted to a Category 2 with sustained winds of 100 miles an hour just before landfall. It seemed to have slowed a bit. That could be an issue with the flooding problems, because if this storm lingers, those water totals are just going to grow, and that's where you're going to see a major problem. Of course, the wind is something you'll have to watch. We already know that there are tens of thousands just in the New Orleans area without power. That number is expected to grow as this storm moves through, and it's just going to be a rough ride here and along the path of Francine for the next several hours. That's the latest here in New Orleans. I'm Jay Gray. Back to you now.
Well, back in the Northwest, there's good news for crews fighting wildfires in Central Oregon. Cooler, wetter weather today has helped those efforts. There's a group of 30 fires that are burning in the Mount Bachelor area. It includes a fire about 6 miles west of the town of Sun River, which has spread now to nearly 10,000 acres. Much of the area is under a level 2. That's a B set evacuation order, with level 3 evacuation stretching farther to the west. Mount Bachelor officials say the fire is not an immediate threat to the resort at this time, but add they will stay closed through at least tomorrow. You're watching KGW News. Still to come at 11, a look inside Oregon's only maximum security prison and the big changes some leaders say are needed now more than ever. Plus, how residents in one Beaverton neighborhood are pushing back when it comes to losing trees to make room for housing.
I'm Matt Safino. Did you see or hear the rain when it came through town a little bit ago? Man, it rained really hard. We'll have the updated rainfall totals for you from tonight and let you know how much more is on the way as we head through the rest of the week.